Erased Destiny 2, The Knower. Chapter 3, War of Nerves. When the air temperature rose and the snow started to melt, Cyril and Jargon together went to Sintra to see the evil mother-in-law. They were interested in it for the same reason, the names of the characters in it. On the way to the show, Jargon asked his father,
"Did the knower find the culprits of the burglary to our house?"
You could say so, yes. Although the verdict has not yet been passed. Apparently, the judges got sick and there is no one to conduct the trials.
What did he determine then?
It seems that looting our property in the eyes of our neighbors has risen to the level of fighting exploitation and social injustice. Those guilty of stealing quilts, linen, wood, clothes, and food were found right away. They admitted to what they believe was a legitimate seizure of necessities, and they don't understand why anyone is prosecuting them for it.
They dismounted from their horses to leave them for safekeeping in a stable in front of the Sintra's gate. On foot, they went to the usual den of street actors, an alley between old houses inhabited by the urban poor.
I asked for some moralizing community service for those thieves. I don't want to inflame relations between us and the residents of Wolves Rome. After the interrogations, most of our items was returned to me, so I do not hold grudges.
Who burned your books? That didn't look like an accident. And I cannot find any reason to do that either.
You are right. It is unreasonable to burn someone's books, and I don't understand that myself. After carefully inspecting the study, Martin concluded that there were two fires inside. First, someone burned only a few specific volumes. My guess is that my rivals from Sintra were behind it, trying to blame it on the robbers from Wolves Rome. Unfortunately, Martin was unable to find the culprit. The second time, all the rest was destroyed. It could have been an accident of sort. Martin thinks that they wanted to burn something, but the fire ran wild and consumed the whole study. There were traces of panic and frantic escape. Human stupidity has always amazed me. For a few minutes of entertainment and a sense of impunity, the perpetrators will pay with their lives.
The performance was already underway. Also, latecomers were left with only seats against the fence. Despite the numerous showings, the play continued to attract unflagging interest, and the enthusiastic cheers of the young spectators sometimes drowned out the sentences spoken by the actors. The man playing Jargon did not resemble his protagonist in any way. Skinny, visibly sick, and also drunk, dressed as a freckled teenager. It was even worse, with the actress playing the role of Etien. From the busty, chubby Gorgona, it was hard to expect a penchant for adventure, romping through trees and catching thugs. Male audience loved her either way and shouted their appraisal.
"You drag him into the bushes. That would make a great scene."
"What do you see in this wimp? Better date someone else. There are so many handsome guys over here."
Divided into three areas, the scene brought to mind a hastily put-together mock-up. Several everyday objects symbolized Etienne's home. 2 licentious paintings and a fruit bowl Jargon's home. And green-painted boards, the forest being a meeting place for lovers. Walking close to the edge of the stage, Lilka pointed out where the action was taking place and where the audience should look. She also interjected some comments.
"Where have you been? I was worried sick.
I went to the forest to gather some mushrooms."
How many times do I have to tell you not to go there? Something might attack you. You'll get lost and not."
The shouts of the fans drowned out the further words. Actress playing Joanna's role tried to continue, but her voice was barely hearable. Cyril feigned amusement, but his eyes remained cool and focused. Jargon found it harder to control his emotions. Merigold hit all his weaknesses. She publicly ridiculed him.
"With this ninny? A maiden without a copper by her soul? Don't you dare to deal with her again."
Buzzing did not allow her to finish the sentence. The action moved to the other part of the stage, where Tekla tried to persuade Etien to invite Jargon to dinner. In doing so, she was so pushy and direct that Etien escaped through the window. Jargon also slipped out of the house. The main characters met in the woods to dream in peace about distant travels, exploring the world, adventures, and exotic food. In the background, Joanna and Tekla took turns to slander the children who did not understand the meaning of money. They used the same arguments, although Tekla's statements lacked the flair and smoothness of Joanna's sentences. When Joanna fell silent, Tekla lamented the fate of a mother of 2 daughters, neither of whom had any intention of marrying. What was even worse, none of them learned to cook.
I wonder how they portrayed me. I must admit that they created an interesting story.
Jargon remained silent. He saw himself slash not himself with Etien, the black-haired ruler. He could hear the conversation someone else was having, although the words seemed to come out of his mouth.
You are so stubborn. You never give up, do you?
Etien stroked his cheek, and he kissed her hand. She looked beautiful in her silver robe. When she looked at him, he saw sadness in her eyes. Maybe it wasn't sadness. She looked like she was worried.
Never. I have lost too much already to let anything more go.
Aren't you afraid that one day I will lose patience with you?
Then you will kill me. Gladly I accept my fate. Please, do not push me away. I can stand anything, but not separation with you.
Screams coming from the stage snapped Jargon out of his reverie. He saw a scene in which Etien saves a child, namely Ragdoll, from drowning, and Cyril charges them for swimming in his pond.
Great idea. That I didn't come up with it myself.
Actor, playing Cyril's role, carried abacus and bag of coins. Wherever he went, looked at the scenography as if he was planning to sell it. Jargon, on the other hand, saw Etien flooding some kind of crypt and himself fighting a horde of undead. Their mission together, the first in so long, ended in a castle made from ice. They hugged each other, kissed, started undressing.
I'm beginning to understand the indiscriminate jokes and allusions that my business partners have been raking me with. Theatrical revenge. I have to admit that Merigold showed maturity.
Aren't you angry with her?
Why should I be? I admire her wit and intelligence.
The boy saw himself in some kind of dungeon. He held on to the iron bars separating him from freedom and screamed. With all his might, he screamed, furious at his own helplessness. Etien proved to be smarter than him. She took advantage of his ignorance. But after what he had done to her, did he have the right to complain about his fate? He had betrayed her, failed her trust. It's hardly surprising that she planned her revenge. She played her role perfectly, drawing him into a trap.
I've had enough of all this. I'm moving out.
But, where to? Why so suddenly? What happened?
My parents are discussing my marriage all the time, as if the role of a woman is reduced to catching a suitable partner. They care nothing about my feelings.
I care. I will go with you. After all, we were going to do it anyway, right? I will organize the horses. Don't worry about anything. Tomorrow we will meet here and set off on our dream journey. What do you think?
Etien threw herself around Jargon's neck. She agreed to everything. Overjoyed, she ran home, and Jargon slowly walked towards his house.
Liar.
Asshole.
Sucker.
Loser.
Without seeing the ending, Jargon knew how the fate of the main characters had turned out. Etien, abandoned by him, found support in the arms of another man. Because he lacked courage. Because he could not stand up to his parents.
I hope you will not take this as an instruction.
Cyril's joke made Jargon even angrier. He wordlessly left the alley. By staging such a play, Merigold hurt him, although he gave her no reason. He may have been a weak, obedient boy who could give up his own desires for the sake of tranquility, but he didn't think he deserved a public lynching. A liar, an asshole, a sucker, a loser. The words shouted by the audience attacked him from every corner. He didn't deserve such epithets, but there was something much worse, more disturbing in all of this. The voice that Jargon heard, images he saw, scenes from the life of someone else. Someone alien was living in his head, someone who was trying to take control of Jargon. Clearly, someone who once loved Etien, who had spent a chunk of his life with her. Nathan, the leader of the Seekers. Everything that Jargon read about Nathan came back to him. If Jargon continues a relationship with Merigold, will the other personality begin to dominate him? Did Merigold really appeal to him? Maybe it was Nathan who wanted to be with Etien, trapped inside of Merigold's body. Maybe his feelings toward Merigold were Nathan's, not his own. Since their paths diverged long ago, Jargon decided that leaving Merigold alone would be the best course of action until he sorts out his situation. Determined to deal with the entity living in his head first, Jargon walked toward the library. There had to be a way to restrain Nathan, to maintain control over his life, to not end up like Merigold, being only an inmate of his own body. No, Jargon was not interested in Nathan's skills nor his past. He wanted to be alone,